haven't made a video in a while because of two reasons. First, I was on vacation and my kids were on vacation, so there was just no opportunity to make a new video. And second, I needed to take a step back and focus on myself and do a kind of self-reassessment. Now, the videos that I make are a part of that process, and they've helped me a lot and have opened up areas of exploration that I wouldn't have gone into on my own. But I needed to work on myself without having to worry about how I was going to make that into a video. So that's what I did. I looked at areas of my life that had negativity and asked questions, and then saw what answers arose. Now, from this work, I had some very interesting and life-changing insights. So today I'd like to talk about one of those, and that's regarding anger. So recently I've been angry more than I'd like, and so I wanted to know why that is. Now, if you watched my videos, you've seen that I've talked about anger throughout many of my videos. Especially, I made two videos over a year ago, What is Anger? Part 1 and Part 2, where I discussed how I had worked on anger. Now, at that time, in those videos, I talk about how when I used to get angry, I would be overcome by anger. And I would come to my senses maybe the next day, and I felt bad. And slowly, as I became more aware, the time from the angry action to being aware shortened, to eventually where I got to the point where I wasn't saying the angry thing anymore. But I wasn't done, because I still had this energy that was built up. So even more, I became aware to the point where finally I would see that anger starting, or that energy starting, and just let it go. After realizing this and doing this work, I thought, well, I'm done with anger. I just don't get angry anymore. But I've seen that that's not true. Now, I had worked on anger. I had looked into it, but the reason that I didn't do much with it, because this anger now is so different. And when I would look into it, I just didn't know what to do. But this time, I decided, okay, I have to. So let's see. So the reason that I hadn't done anything with this until now was that this anger is very different. So I'll talk about the main points of why it's different. So I don't get worked up. So there's no physical effect. So when there's a negative feeling and you feel that in the body, it's been very easy to see. If you're nervous and you feel that feeling in your stomach, or when you're angry and you have this intensity. But this anger now, I don't have that. I'm aware when I'm angry. So I'm mindful. I'm mindfully angry. And because I'm aware of it, I notice the feeling of it. And the feel is that I'm an actor playing a role. And my character at that moment needs to be angry. That's part of the script. So I'm just playing that out. Now, lastly, it's not that I want to be angry, but I don't want to not be angry. So when I'm angry, I don't notice any thoughts or any feelings of like, I shouldn't do this. So this is why I kind of felt like there was a dead end. But this time, I looked at each point and dissected those. So the first one, there's no physical effect. Okay, so well, if I don't get worked up, is it even anger? Well, again, it doesn't really matter what I call it. If I call it anger or I call it frustration or irritation, it is negativity. And it is not helping the situation. So it is still something to go into. Okay, so I'm aware when I'm angry. And I don't want to not do it. Okay, so then is anger okay? Because I'm not There's nothing in me that wants to not do it. Now, I've asked this question before, and I've answered this question before. But sometimes it's important to revisit questions that have been answered because of different connections that we have. Now, something like anger, that's connected to everything. And so in a certain situation, a certain group of connections, I can answer it and it makes sense and it lets go, but it still is connected in other areas. So even when I've answered a question like this, it's important to, maybe in a new context, to answer it or look into it, ask it, and answer it again. So, is it okay to be angry? Is there a good point to it? Well, like I figured out before, just get rid of the word anger and just say negativity. Is there any situation where adding more negativity is a good point? No. So, anger is not helpful, not good. Now, the last one, I said I don't want to not do it. Now, this is interesting. So, I really paid attention to the feeling of that. And what I noticed was there was a feeling of helplessness. And when I felt that, well, the answer came to me. And it's, I'm angry because I don't know what else to do. And when that answer arose, it was very clear that that's the answer. And one of the reasons was because I don't like it. I was hoping for something more philosophical that I could play with and take apart and explore. But this actually means I have to do something. I don't know what to do in these situations, so I actually have to figure out what to do. But even with this answer being so clear, it's still important to check it. Okay. So, I looked at the situations where I was getting angry and said, okay, in this situation, like a calm angry, if I knew what to do, would I have been angry? No. All right, but in this situation where maybe the anger is more quick, same thing. If I had something I knew what to do, it wouldn't happen because there would be no reason to. So, okay, that is the answer. Now, what I noticed with this is that I could see these different layers of anger, or different layers of a negative emotion, or different layers of an emotion. Now, I'd worked on the first one years ago, and that's the physical layer. And that's the one that's easiest to see. So if you're angry and your heart's racing and your breath is short, okay, very clearly you're angry. Even you might get red, or when you're nervous, you get that feeling in your stomach. Now, there's another layer of emotions, and that's the habit. Now, that's the habit of actually doing that. Now, I think I talked about this most clearly in my video on how I stopped being grumpy in the morning. So, for all my life, when I was tired in the morning, I would be grumpy. And one morning, I was really tired, and I decided, for whatever reason, let's just try to not be grumpy. What if I just said, okay, I'm not going to be grumpy today, and just tried it. And so I went about the day being very tired and not being grumpy. And what I noticed was that grumpiness was an action. It was something I was doing. So I could just stop doing it. Now, even though I saw that trick. Now, the grumpiness was done. But the next time I was tired in the morning, those thoughts still came up. Those desires to be grumpy. I mean, the next time it was still like, I know you figured it out, but it's still, you should be grumpy. But no, I've seen the trick, so I'm not going to. And over time, those came up less and less. Now, if the situation changed a little bit, again, there's a new connection. So now I'm very tired, but I'm sick. Well, I'm sick. I can be grumpy now, but no, I'm not going to do that. And so eventually it just faded away where it never came up again. And what I saw with this time, this anger, this is a deeper level of habit. And where it's not really what I'm doing, at least traditionally what I think what I'm doing. It's more of who I am, my personality, my character, in the deepest areas of what I would consider myself. Not the big I, but let's say the little I, the self. And it's that which analyzes, that which makes judgments or opinions. And I thought it's like a government agency that is captured and controlled by the industry it's supposed to regulate. And so anything that agency does is always to the benefit, helps the industry. And so what I saw is that anger was so habitual that it is in my very character. And so that when I make judgments of situations, anger is a part of that. So again, for another analogy, it is like anger is part of the jury that is passing judgment. So of course, I'm always going to get a favorable verdict. I mean, looking at any situation and how I was looking at anger, of course, it's logical to be angry because anger is deciding what is logical. Now, this is very interesting, and this opens up perhaps new areas to explore. So this is something that I just figured out a couple days ago. So it's still very new, but I wanted to share with you. The one thing is that this might seem hopeless. So now, how can I trust my opinions, my analysis, if it is tainted by that? Okay, but what I've seen is this part of me was hidden, and it's no longer hidden. So now the light has been shined on it. So with what I'm doing, the work that I'm doing, as I see these areas that were hidden before now are illuminated, it's just more clarity in reality, or more clarity in how I interact with reality. So this is not a negative thing. So I thought I'd like to share that with you, and I'd like to know what you think. So like always, if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Until next time.